I was reading, when I was doing research for this, I was reading, it was Marquette University Law School, and they actually had two uh, articles that weren't necessarily arguing completely different things, but one of them said that uh, was actually referring to the Scott Walker recall, and saying basically that people in support of Scott Walker were saying that recalls were only designed for officials that were corrupt, whereas the person writing this article was saying that that was false, that recall provisions were never intended to be limited in such fashion. But then there was a different author for Marquette University that said many of the advocates of the recall from the progressive era saw it as a useful tool against corruption. Not necessarily completely diametrically opposed viewpoints, but even in that one resource, it did seem to be at least a little bit of differing views for what recall elections were intended for and what they should be intended for. Well, I guess they weren't necessarily arguing whether they should be used for just for corruption purposes or anything like that. But in any case, even if it is primarily partisan or ideological and it's not based on any criminal wrongdoing, does that mean that these recalls should not be allowed? Uh, is it the organizers of the recall that are being partisan or ideological? Or is it the target of the recall that has been partisan or ideological in how they've handled things? What if both sides are being partisan or ideological? And then, even if we largely agree that an elected official is terrible and they need to get out of there as soon as possible, should we just have to accept that we elected the wrong candidate and suck it up, so to speak? Do we get to have a do-over before the term is up? Or do we have to wait it out and basically say, we messed up, they're just going to have to finish out their term, and then we make a different decision when the next election happens?